In life, few trials test us more deeply than the pain that comes from our own family. Stoic philosophy doesn't ask us to ignore that pain, but to transform it. Through the teachings of Epictetus, Seneca, and Marcus Aurelius, we learn not to control others, but to master ourselves. What if the chaos in your home could become the path to your peace? What if the very people who wound you most could shape your inner strength? In this reflection, we will explore 7 Stoic principles to help you rise above toxic family dynamics, not with resentment, but with clarity, courage, and wisdom. Number 1. The dichotomy of control. You can't fix them. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies a powerful idea: the dichotomy of control, the distinction between what is within our power and what is not. Epictetus taught that the path to inner peace begins with recognizing this divide. When it comes to toxic family members, the Stoic acknowledges that their behavior, emotional reactions, and judgments are not ours to command. No matter how much we care, or how deeply we wish to fix or heal the family dynamic, these efforts become suffering when we try to control the uncontrollable. A Stoic does not base their serenity on whether others change. They root it in their ability to respond wisely and with self-command, regardless of the chaos around them. By focusing on our own thoughts, reactions, and values, we reclaim our power. The words, manipulations, or emotional turbulence of a toxic parent or sibling no longer have the same hold, because the Stoic has shifted their attention inward, not outward. This doesn't mean we stop caring, but it means we stop clinging. Peace comes not from fixing others, but from mastering our own perceptions of them. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The dichotomy of control teaches us that freedom is not in changing others, but in changing how we relate to them. Number 2, virtue over loyalty. In Stoic philosophy, virtue is the highest good, not comfort, not wealth, and not even the approval of one's family. The 4 cardinal virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, form the foundation of a life well lived. While many cultures place deep importance on family loyalty, the Stoic questions whether such loyalty aligns with virtue. If staying silent means tolerating abuse, enabling injustice, or betraying your own values, then that loyalty becomes a vice disguised as virtue. To the Stoic, it is far nobler to risk disapproval by acting with integrity than to be accepted while living in contradiction with one's moral compass. This doesn't mean abandoning your family at the first sign of difficulty. Stoicism calls for patience, compassion, and resilience. But when family relationships become corrosive to the soul, the Stoic asks, am I remaining loyal to them at the cost of betraying myself? If the answer is yes, then the path of virtue demands courage, the courage to say no, to walk away, or to speak truthfully even when it's unwelcome. As Marcus Aurelius said, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. In the end, true loyalty is not blind. It is guided by reason and virtue. Anything less is not loyalty, but emotional bondage. Number 3, compassion without attachment. Stoicism is often misunderstood as cold or emotionless, but in truth, Stoics are deeply compassionate, just not emotionally entangled. The Stoic sees that toxic behavior often comes from ignorance, fear, or internal suffering, as Epictetus taught. People do wrong not because they are evil, but because they do not understand what is good. A toxic family member may be acting from unresolved trauma, insecurity, or emotional dysfunction. The Stoic doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but they understand it. And that understanding leads to a higher form of compassion, one that is not rooted in guilt, neediness, or blind obligation, but in wisdom. However, that compassion is paired with emotional detachment. A Stoic cares, but does not cling. They can love someone and still step away from their chaos. They can forgive someone and still protect their peace. This balanced mindset allows them to remain grounded in their values without being pulled into manipulation or drama. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. The Stoic does not return hate with hate, nor do they let compassion become self-destruction. They choose instead to act justly, even toward those who are unjust, with a steady heart and clear mind. Number 4. Set boundaries with calm, not hate. Stoicism does not require you to endure mistreatment in silence. On the contrary, it teaches the importance of setting firm, rational boundaries, not out of anger but out of clarity and self-respect. When faced with toxic family dynamics, the Stoic understands that walking away, limiting contact, or establishing emotional distance may be necessary for the preservation of their inner peace and moral integrity. But these actions are not born from hatred or resentment. They come from a place of inner steadiness, as Epictetus taught. Keep your attention focused entirely on what is truly your own concern, and be clear that what belongs to others is their business, and none of yours. The Stoic strength lies in their ability to remain composed even in the face of provocation. They do not lash out, argue endlessly, or seek revenge. They act deliberately, choosing what is right over what merely feels good in the moment. Setting boundaries becomes an act of virtue, combining wisdom, courage, and temperance. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, kindness is invincible, but only when it's sincere, with no hypocrisy or faking. For what can even the most malicious person do? If you keep treating him with kindness and gently set him straight, the Stoic way is not to shut down emotionally, but to rise above, to choose calm over chaos and principle over reaction. Number 5. Your role is to live well, not to be liked. One of the greatest inner prisons we can live in is the fear of disapproval, especially from our own family. But for the Stoic, being liked is not the goal, living with virtue is. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." This insight reflects a powerful truth. When we prioritize pleasing others over living in alignment with our principles, we sacrifice our integrity for approval. A Stoic recognizes that even if others, including family, misunderstand or judge them, that is not a reason to abandon their own sense of what is right. This doesn't mean becoming cold or dismissive. It means having the moral courage to follow your path, even when it means disappointing others. Stoicism teaches that external validation is unstable, and chasing it only leads to frustration. A toxic family may try to guilt, shame, or manipulate you into staying in your old role. But the Stoic is not concerned with being liked, praised, or even understood. They are concerned with being just, wise, and free. Living well, in this sense, becomes a silent rebellion, not fueled by anger, but by unwavering commitment to what is good, regardless of who approves. Number 6. From reaction to reason. A defining trait of Stoicism is the ability to pause between stimulus and response to resist being swept away by emotion and instead act from reason. Toxic family dynamics often involve emotional traps, harsh words, passive-aggressive behaviors, guilt tactics. These situations trigger instinctive reactions like anger, defensiveness, or withdrawal, but a Stoic trains themselves to step back and observe before acting. They ask, "Is this worth my peace? Is this leading me closer to virtue or further from it?" Epictetus reminds us, when something happens, the only thing in your power is your attitude toward it. You can either accept it or resent it. This ability to respond instead of react gives the Stoic incredible inner power. While others might be controlled by impulses, the Stoic chooses to live deliberately. They don't raise their voice just because they were provoked, nor do they return harm for harm. Instead, they aim to embody patience, clarity, and justice, even under emotional fire. This doesn't make them passive, it makes them powerful. Their decisions come from reflection, not reactivity, in toxic family situations. This shift from emotional reaction to rational response allows them to stay true to themselves and to turn even painful moments into practice grounds for wisdom. Number 7. Toxic family as a spiritual training ground. To the Stoic, adversity is not something to be merely endured. It is a tool for transformation. Toxic family relationships, while painful, are not seen as meaningless suffering, but as a powerful opportunity to practice virtue in its purest form. As Epictetus said, difficulties show a person's character. It's easy to be calm among calm people, but true growth happens in the fire, when patience is tested, when kindness must be extended to those who do not return it, when you must choose reason over reaction despite being deeply hurt. A toxic family member, then, becomes not just a problem, but a spiritual teacher in disguise. This is not about romanticizing abuse or glorifying pain. Rather, it's about choosing to find meaning in what would otherwise simply damage us. A Stoic doesn't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but instead, "How can I use this to become better, stronger, more virtuous?" Every harsh word becomes a test of restraint. Every betrayal becomes a lesson in forgiveness without foolishness. Every moment of chaos becomes an invitation to choose clarity. In this way, the Stoic turns suffering into strength and toxic family into a training ground for the highest kind of resilience, the kind that is rooted in wisdom, compassion, and unshakable inner freedom. Final thought: protecting your peace is not betrayal. In the Stoic worldview, your inner peace is sacred. It is the fortress from which all virtue flows. Calm judgment, steady action, clear perception. When that peace is constantly shaken by toxic family dynamics, the Stoic does not feel guilt for creating distance. Instead, they understand that preserving the soul's harmony is a duty, not a betrayal. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Choosing peace over chaos, reason over emotional bondage, and self-respect over dysfunctional loyalty is not selfish, it is wise. A Stoic does not abandon others out of spite, but may walk away out of necessity, with no hate, only clarity. True loyalty in Stoicism is not about blind attachment, but about living in harmony with nature and reason. That means showing compassion but not enabling, setting boundaries but not closing your heart. Sometimes the most Stoic thing you can do is leave, not to escape, but to preserve what's best in you. The goal is not to punish or win, but to live with virtue and inner freedom. If your peace must be sacrificed to maintain a toxic relationship, then it is not Stoic to stay. It is self-betrayal. The greatest service you can offer yourself and others is to be an example of a life lived wisely, courageously, and peacefully, even if it means walking alone. You are not here to fix everyone. You are here to live with purpose, with principle, and with peace. The Stoics remind us, your mind is your sanctuary. Protect it. And if you must walk away from toxicity to stay aligned with your highest self, do so with grace, not bitterness. Protecting your peace is not betrayal, it is self-respect. Remember, in the words of Marcus Aurelius, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So let your thoughts be calm, just, and free. You don't need to be born wise, but you must choose to become it.